Merced Hospital was wiped out, the Florida City hospitals were wiped out, and what they needed was a fully functioning emergency department.
People who need a lot of help. There are some people with acute problems, there are people with chronic problems that has to be taken care of.
We're seeing between 100 and 140 patients a day.
We had a baby come in last night that was a code blue, and it just in a short period of time was breathing again.
This was an order of magnitude of disaster that is unprecedented in our country.
I mean, they just came with just boxes and boxes of donations. I don't have to tell you, Americans are the most generous people I know.
If that storm had been 50 miles to the north, we'd be relying on people from South Dade to help us. The day after the hurricane, I contacted our executive vice president and spoke with her about setting up a list of volunteers so that we could participate in whatever relief efforts might be indicated in South Dade.
When this first happened, obviously it was very difficult for the Dade County Medical Association because they lost their practices, they lost their homes, so they were really not able to mobilize any kind of effort. We were the closest medical society to the site, so that's why the Broward County doctors and nurses worked so diligently.
Of course, big problem was we had trouble getting through, talking to anybody, but when we spoke to some of the governmental officials in Broward County, knowing that they could contact Dade County through radio transmission, again, we kept getting conflicting stories. So I felt very strongly that we wouldn't go into action until we actually identified a need and then had a location in which we could send supplies and medical personnel.
There were a lot of people that would just come, doctors and nurses, that deciding that they felt helpless, they wanted to do something, so they came and they'd be on street corners and they would be providing health care. But what was happening is people didn't know if indeed they were credentialed, if these truly were doctors and nurses. So that's why we wanted to have a system where everybody could come through us, and we credentialed the doctors and nurses before they left our site, before they left the Broward County Medical Society. So there must have been 20 to 25 sites at one point in the first days.
Following the hurricane, there was no central coordinating agency for volunteers anywhere. I tried Dade County Medical Association, but their entire operation had been knocked out by the storm. Their phones were down, they had no power, etc. It was impossible to contact anyone. So I next tried contacting the Broward County Medical Association. They informed me that they were about to organize a volunteer medical relief effort.
We had to put in another 6 or 7 lines into the office itself. We ended up going ahead and trying to get volunteers to answer the phones because CNN was kind enough to put our telephone number on the screen, so we were getting calls from all over the country.
And within a couple of days, we became the source of a centralized effort to provide volunteers down here.
The first day that we came down, we went to the homeless clinic before we came here and got our medical supplies because we knew that we would deal with the same type of homeless problems.
We started hitting the storm damage just prior to Miami, and we just felt like we were going to sometime drive out of it. The damage just got worse and worse and worse, and what we've seen on TV, even though they've done a terrific job of covering it, just doesn't match the reality of the situation completely.
I was absolutely speechless. It is, I didn't expect, you see it on the news, but you can't imagine the scope of what it really is like. All you heard on the bus was, oh my God.
You know, the homes are gone, how lives are just completely changed just in one day.
I passed through 30 to 40 miles of devastation down here, and it seems to be much more widespread, and it's horrendous.
The sky was black, and there was lightning, and all these military helicopters and on the horizon with this black sky, you see all these dead trees, and it was very surrealistic, and it reminded me of a scene from Apocalypse Now.
The military people who took us down in helicopters subsequently, who had Vietnam experiences, their feeling was that they'd seen areas of devastation of that magnitude on a small scale, and the concept of half a mile or a mile. They'd never seen anything in the order of magnitude that we've seen, encompassing such a widespread area of South Dade, and specifically Homestead and Florida City.
I couldn't believe it. It was like walking into the end of humanity. There were just people everywhere, and they were just dazed and frightened. And
we were very limited. We were able to reach the moon, but we could not prevent this kind of catastrophe.